Have you ever wanted to just tell that annoying customer that you quit and all their problems are not your issue anymore? Well, the guy who sent a story time into me today apparently got a chance to just go off on a dude that had made his job miserable for quite a long time and then quit. You guys are really gonna enjoy the story time, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alright, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today, as you can tell from the title, I've got a story time about this male Karen, Darren, whatever you want to call him. Marin, Baron, I don't care. Either way, this guy would come into the store and cause problems for the guy who sent this into me. And he finally got to go off on him right before he quit his job. So I knew you guys would enjoy the story time. If you're hyped, be sure to press the like button. If we could get this video to 2,500 likes, I would really appreciate it, and I'll do an hour video in honor of the new year. That's right, 2,500 likes for an hour video. And yeah, without further ado, let's hop into it. So just for storytelling purposes, I'm gonna call the guy that sent this into me Jacob, and Jacob worked at one of these places that provided all of the supplies to plumbers. It was like a plumber's supply store, basically all the piping, all that type of stuff that they would need. They would come in and get it from this store because they specialized in having everything in one location, right? In 99% of the time, even though plumbers are dealing with an endless amount of crap, they were incredibly nice, they were incredibly kind, no issue. The way any job is. It's not the like 99% of customers that are super easy to work with that make you hate the job. But there was one guy who was just constantly a headache, and he didn't even know why the guy wanted to hate his life that bad. I'm not saying that like plumbing is a glamorous job, but the thing with any job is you're kind of choosing to do it. And this guy would just complain about plumbing all the time in a plumbing store, and it was just really annoying because you're like, dude, I get it, you know, it's literally a crappy job, but you're choosing to do it, so I don't really know what to tell you when you're complaining to me about everything about your company that I don't own and have nothing to do with. But whatever, he would come in and complain about everything, and because he was so busy complaining, oftentimes he would order the wrong part or not pay attention to what was handed to him and like just walk out with it. And then he would come back when he messed up and got there and had the wrong part or looked at the receipt and realized he had ordered the wrong thing, and he would come back in irate, just ready to go off on everyone, trying to snap their heads off and be like, look at what you did, you made me miss out on this money, all this is your fault. And there was a very well-known policy of like, look, at the end of the day, I'm not the one going to your job. I get the order form, I get the parts, I have them ready for you. I have no bearing on what you order. So the fact that he was trying to like blame these people for an order that he had to place himself and got wrong was just ridiculous. And yeah, sometimes accidents happen, but you get what I'm saying. It was like 3-4 times a week this guy would get the wrong part and it would somehow be the store's fault. And they never had this problem with anybody else. If the employees were messing up all the time, you'd think other plumbers would also be like, hey guys, you're always giving me the wrong part. This is annoying. That just never happened. This guy would forget and then try to shift the blame onto the workers. And unfortunately, the manager at this establishment, not the owner, but the guy there day to day running everything, was one of those like old school business guys where the customer is always right. That's what matters. The customer can do no wrong. The customer could walk in here, pour some kerosene over one of the displays, light it on fire, and say, you guys told him to do it, and I'd have to fire you because the customer can't be wrong. Like one of those people. And I think that's the most annoying attitude in business. Don't get it twisted. The customer 100% matters. You can't have a business without customers. But at the same time, you can't have a business if every customer is just walking all over you and taking all your profit and whatnot. And so this guy would come in swearing it was, you know, their fault for messing up the parts, and the manager would be like, I'm so sorry, my workers are dumb. Here, we'll just comp all the parts. And so this guy kind of realized that if he would complain and come in and say it was their fault for giving him the wrong thing, that he would usually get his order for free. So he went from like doing it every now and then once every couple weeks to the intensity going way up. He was doing it all the time. Basically every order would have an issue, and it just really stood out because none of these other plumbers ever had a problem. Like I said, he was working with them all the time, and 99% of them were like great guys. Plumbing pays great money. Like sure, the job might not be glamorous, but they get paid very, very well. It's always in demand. Like even in a recession, you need a plumber. And so there was like some days people would be pissed off, but at the end of the day, they were never having the same issues that he was, and they were never as grumpy. So Jacob deciphers, and it doesn't take a genius to figure this out, that he's got to be doing it on purpose. Like there's no way that they're actually messing up these orders orders if they're not messing it up for everybody else. And he's doing it on purpose because he realizes, oh, if I complain, then I get the parts for free, and that obviously makes like the money he makes for each job way more. I mean, think about it. If he fixes a toilet, orders the wrong toilet, throws a fit about it, and then gets both toilets for free, he can go use that toilet that he got for free in the first job, make more money, and then he has another toilet to use in another job and make more money. So he's getting paid for 2 toilets that he never had to put any money out for. Like, of course he's gonna do that if you are willing to do that. Like, I'm not saying you could do that. I would feel bad scamming a business, but considering this guy is already a giant Darren in the first place, it's not like he cares. And I also love how he has to throw the employees under the bus. Like, he could just come up with a way to blame their ordering system or something, but he would go out of his way to make sure that Jacob would get blamed for this stuff. And so Jacob, realizing that this guy's gonna cost the company a bunch of money, decides to go to his boss about it. So he goes into his boss's office and he's like, listen, you know, this guy, I think that he's purposely going out of his way to like order the wrong thing, and then he's blaming us because he realizes that he's going to get stuff for free. So maybe next time we don't give him something for free just to see how he reacts. And he's not trying to overstep and tell the boss how to run things, but the boss isn't out there on a day-to-day basis like interacting. The boss isn't pulling parts, so it's way easier for him to sit in here and be like, nope, my workers are idiots, than it is to do any work to actually figure out if the company's losing money. And he doesn't own it, so at the end of the day, as long as his paycheck is getting signed, he doesn't care. And so he starts to kind of come at Jacob, defending the guy and being like, well, that's a huge accusation. Are you trying to accuse him of stealing? And he's like, no, I'm just saying that he's the only customer that ever has problems with his orders, and he always gets stuff for free when he complains. Every other customer we have never comes back and says we gave him the wrong thing, never comes back and says our computer messed up, never. He's the only guy it happens with. Don't you think that's a little bit bizarre? And the boss is in full ostrich mode and is like, well, he's shopped here forever, so I don't know about that. And he's just sitting there, Jacob, thinking to himself that it doesn't matter how long the dude has shopped here. If he's figured out a way to get parts for free, then he's going to do it. He clearly does not care about getting anyone in trouble. Like, you know, I personally couldn't go get a worker in trouble to get some free toilets. I'm just not into that. But this guy's like probably rolling in money because he's getting all these free parts to complete these jobs. He doesn't care. Clearly the manager doesn't care either. And so he just kind of tells Jacob to like get out of here. And at that point, Jacob realizes that A, the company's going to be a sinking ship if they're just willing to lose a bunch of money for no reason, and B, he doesn't want to work there because he's just going to have to keep dealing with this guy's crap. So he starts looking for another job and very quickly finds himself a job working for a plumbing company doing like all their part management, but for them directly. Like not through this house, but just a big company that buys all their parts directly. And he's going to get paid more. So if anything, his boss being an idiot kind of scored him a promotion. So he gets that going, and he hasn't put in his 2 weeks yet when the guy comes back in with a huge order. And it's the biggest order this guy has ever had. And Jacob, even though he's going to quit, still wants to like not let this guy rob the company too much. So he starts looking through it, and he spends about 30 minutes with this guy going over each and every item. And he made sure that he did it within perfect view of the security camera, and their security cameras did audio. And so he goes over each item, makes sure this is the one you want, right? This is the one you want, right? This is the one you want, right? And the guy's like, yes, 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 absolutely. He's starting to get annoyed with him. Like, why are you taking so long? Just go get me my parts. And he just blatantly tells the guy, every time we go to get you parts, you manage to find something wrong with it. So I'm just making sure that everything I'm about to go get makes sense, because I'm not about to let you get a bunch of free parts. And the guy's face kind of changes, but the manager's not around, and he's like, okay. And so Jacob goes through the list, and sure enough, every single item has now been verified. This is what you want. You're not going to come back in and say we gave you the wrong thing. And so he goes and gets everything, and it's probably about like $9,000 worth of stuff. It's the biggest single order that this guy has placed. Like, he's come in and done several thousand orders, maybe multiple times in a day, but like in one go, this is the most he's ever spent. And it's a lot of like very expensive high-end stuff. So not a lot of items, but a high dollar amount, if that makes sense. Like buying 15 iPads. You know, it would be 15 grand if you bought an iPad Pro, but like there's only 15 things. It's not like you bought $15,000 worth of like Cheez-Its or whatever. But Jacob has like octuple checked at this point to make sure that everything's good. So so he says have a good day, and he expects to not see him again. At the very least, all the time he wasted with him going over all the items would make him aware that, like, look, we're on to you. We're not going to deal with the excuse of, oh, every part is wrong. But sure enough, later that day, he comes back in to complain, and he immediately starts saying that Jacob gave him the wrong parts. None of the stuff was right. It doesn't work. He needs to speak to a manager because he needs to discuss with him about what they're going to do to make this right. The usual spiel he does to get stuff for free. And Jacob this time points at the camera and says, dude, our entire interaction was on video. And the guy kind of has a look of nervousness on his face, but then goes, whatever, get the manager, like, I'll deal with that. And I don't know if he just thought he was going to get away with, like, telling the manager that it was still Jacob's fault or what. But either way, he was calling his bluff and being like, get the manager, I don't care that it's on film, that you verified none of this was wrong, we're going to test it anyways. So Jacob goes and gets his manager thinking, finally, I got this guy, like, it's over, there's no way that my manager is going to be able to argue with video evidence. That's the best type of evidence, I would say. Out of all of the evidence, not that I'm a lawyer or anything, video evidence is the hardest to, like, come up with an excuse for. It's not a picture, well, the picture's out of context. Like, if there's a video of him saying, yes, all these parts are correct, this is today's date, and then he says the parts weren't correct, that's 100% on him. So whatever, he gets the manager, and the manager's like, well, let's go see this video. And so they go in and they start watching the video, and they're kind of skipping through it, but finally they stop for a bit and they hear Jacob going item by item, line by line, being like, is this correct? Yes. Is this correct? Yes. And then he comes back with the items. Is this that item? Yes. Is this that item? Yes. And of course, Jacob this entire time is thinking his boss is going to have his back. But it gets to the end and his boss looks at Jacob and is like, what? Did you expect him to be able to listen through all of that? What do you mean did I expect him to be able to listen through all of that, dude? Of course I expected a human being to be able to listen through the, like, one thing they're doing in that moment. If you go into a store to buy something and they start going over with you what you're buying, you should be paying attention. But the manager starts trying to spin it and be like, well, that was overbearing to the customer, and of course he was saying yes to everything. He wasn't taking the time to actually verify it. And I'll be honest, like, Jacob didn't imply this. The manager and the guy have to have been in cahoots. Like, there has to have been a deal in place where they were both taking advantage of the system to give each other free stuff. Like, maybe he was getting a kickback or something. But there's no way that the manager watches this video and is like, well, he was just saying yes to everything, so therefore all the parts were wrong. Because if that is the case, Mr. Manager, how would you ever know if you guys were in the right? Like, if you're really just gonna roll on the honor system and say that we're not even gonna try to double check because you won't be paying attention anyways, then you're always going to be at fault 100% of the time. It's not on you if the person buying stuff isn't paying attention when you're trying to stop them from wasting their money. Like Jacob was doing what should have been a nice thing to most people, double checking everything's right, making sure the job can go smoothly. Only to somebody trying to take advantage of the system would it be annoying to double check that everything's correct. So whatever, the boss kind of turns it on him, and at that point, this old man too kind of turns to him and is like, see, I told you that this was your fault. And while he was okay with the guy, like, coming in and using his managership to get free stuff and whatnot, he was not cool with this guy trying to convince him he was crazy, because he knew for a fact what they were doing. And so all of this rage that had been building up about this guy coming in and getting free parts and his manager not taking it seriously, and now his manager somehow actually trying to get mad at him for trying to save the business money, he just decided that, like, he's had enough. He's got the other job. There's no reason for him to calmly put his 2 weeks in. He's just gonna let it out now. And so he looks at the boss and just goes, you're being a moron. And the boss is like, excuse me? And Jacob tells him, like, you're being an idiot. I made sure to double check that every part was right because this guy always does this and he's taking advantage of the business to get free parts. That is what's going on. If you can't see that, then you are blind to the situation and you shouldn't be a manager. And the manager is like, I don't think you can talk to me that way. And Jacob's response was, I can talk to you however I want because this job sucks and I'm not doing it anymore. I quit. And Jacob was one of their best employees, so the manager starts trying to backpedal. But Mr. Shopper over here, who's been taking advantage of the system, decides to try to get one more cheap shot in at Jacob and is like, what? It's not like you're going to be able to go get another job anyways. And Jacob is not about to get roasted by this dude. Like, imagine knowing that somebody somebody is going out of their way to get free stuff from a company because they just complain about everything. I don't know if he can afford it or not, but like clearly he's not paying for the stuff he's getting. So he looks at him and is like, whatever, even if I never get a job again, I still have more dignity than you do. How do we know you're making any money? I haven't seen you actually pay for something in years. Like, just starts going in on the dude, being like, I wouldn't hire you as a plumber if I was literally up to my ankles in crap. I would rather shovel it out myself. And now the manager and this guy are like both wide-eyed. And Jacob is like, I'm going to work for somebody that doesn't need to deal with this business and does all their parts themselves because, you know, this is just stupid. This manager's going to run this place into the ground. And I would rather make less money doing worse work than work for customers like you. And on that note, he unclipped the badge, bro, dropped it on the desk, and was like the ultimate mic drop and started walking out. And listen, even if the boss realized he's 100% in the wrong now, when somebody goes that hard and drops the badge on the desk, there's no chance you're going to convince them to go back. Even if you've just had a change of heart, you know, you're so right, this customer is taking advantage of me. When someone does a rant like that and is like, I'm out, peace, it's done. And so the manager comes out and is like, Jacob, wait, we're gonna have to find a way to work this out. And he's like, no, we're not gonna work this out. I'm not gonna call the owner or anything, but if I were you, I would start actually paying attention to what's going on in the store, because the only way that you keep your job and everyone that works here keeps their job is if the place continues making money, and you giving stuff away is the exact opposite of that. And he's doing this all like in the hallway, in earshot of basically every other employee. And listen, is that the most professional thing to do? I know there's gonna be people in the comments like, this was so unprofessional. Yeah, you're right. You know what else is unprofessional? Trying to gaslight your employee who's trying to save the company money to think that he's nuts. I don't know. Like, I feel like, yeah, all right, is going off on your ex-boss the most professional thing in the world? No, it's not. But he's your former boss. What's he gonna do? Call your new boss and complain? If that's the case, he's still petty and you explain the situation. And I don't think you should talk this way to every boss you have, every ex-boss. Like, if your boss is a cool guy who's worked with you over the course of the job and hasn't done anything like this, then by all means, you should put in your 2 weeks. You should nicely quit. You should be respectful through the process because they've been respectful of you. But that's not this situation. Let's not pretend that this is some fantastic job experience that's going to absolutely change his life. I mean, it probably did change his life because he's like, boy, I will never work for another company like that again. But it's not like this relationship means the world to him, clearly. All right, I'm going to interrupt the story for just 1 second. On screen now is a gift card code. I give away money to say thank you to you guys for subscribing and turning on notifications. So if you haven't already, you should do that. And if you're enjoying the video this far, just go ahead and smash that like button. And on that note, I'll shut up. Thank you all. Either way, Jacob tells his boss, like, listen, man, there really is nothing to work out. It's not that I don't like working here. I don't like working for you. So I don't really want to work for you. It is what it is. Best of luck. After this, no hard feelings. I won't harbor any beef. I will never come back here again. I won't talk to anyone about this except sending it into me, apparently. But like, I'm not going to try to go out of my way to get you fired or get you in trouble. I'm just saying you should get your stuff together. And the customer sticks his head around the corner and then says one more thing, which is something along the lines of like, oh, all this because of me, or like, you're going to let me live in your head rent free. And he just can't handle it, bro. He's been letting the rage build, and he looks at him and he's like, no, you're not the reason I'm quitting. You're just the moron that broke the camel's back. And on that note, he turns around and he just walks out. And so he gets out into the parking lot and he says it felt like someone just took a weight and lifted it off his shoulders, like how freeing it felt to just not work there anymore. Got in his car and like drove home, ended up calling his boss at the new place he had got the job and was like, hey, is it okay if I come in early because I don't have a job anymore? And so his boss kind of asked him to explain, and so he told him the redacted version. You know, he didn't mention like yelling at his boss or anything, but just about this particular customer who was taking advantage of the company and whatnot. And this new boss says the guy's name, like full name by name, and goes, oh, was it da-da-da? And he's like, yeah, how'd you know? And he is like, oh, we've had problems with that guy trying to do the same thing over here before. And he didn't mention anything about his manager being complicit or like not doing anything about it. He had just told his boss that there was a customer who had been taking advantage of stuff, and like, you know, there was some disagreements with management over it. He didn't tell his new boss that he went off. He didn't say, oh, it's all the manager's fault, they're in cahoots. Like, he was just kind of implying that he was not cool with this customer continuing to try to return everything for free and get doubles of everything for free. And even if I was like the manager, right, he has to be in cahoots with the guy, because imagine this. The guy comes in, he's like, look, all of this stuff that you gave me is wrong. I need the right stuff. Fair, maybe you gave him the wrong stuff. So you would take that other stuff back, right? Like, unless you're a moron, you take the stuff that was wrong back. No, he would let him keep the wrong stuff and then give him the right stuff, which is a terrible way to run a business. Oh, we messed up and gave you an $800 toilet instead of a $500 toilet? Keep them both. Like, it's a miracle they've managed to stay in business this long. I want to know where this place is. I'm gonna go get some free toilets, apparently. The next insane Netflix documentary is gonna be The Toilet King instead of The Tiger King or something, the way this is all going, dude. I wonder whatever happened to everyone from The Tiger King. Like, that was such a fever dream. I think COVID just kind of stretched time weird because it feels like 90 years ago, and it's almost 3, I guess. 3 years is a long time. But I don't know. Something about Tiger King just sounds like it was from ancient Egypt at this point. Regardless, Jacob is enjoying his new job, doesn't really have to deal with it, and very much enjoyed the fact that he got to tell off that dude before he quit. I thought it was a banger. If you did too, you should be sure to press the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments section down below. If you don't know what to comment on the video, just go ahead and comment the word toilet down below. Helps me know if you guys like the video, and I would just really appreciate it. You know, it helps the video do better. I ain't gonna lie, it helps. Other than that, if you really want to help me out, you can find a link to my Spotify where I post all these a day after they're up on here. Feel free to check that out. And I'll also throw a link to the intro song down below. Feel free to check it out if you want. But yeah, on that note, guys, I think that'll really do it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see each and every single one of you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.